How's it going, guys? We are back on the NFL Cymru podcast. Myself, David, and Gitor. Gitor, the wait is almost over. We are less than a week away from the beginning of training camp. Rookies have already started to arrive at the buildings in their teams for the first time, because obviously they get a week before the vets arrive back on the beginning of training camp. And I can't believe, Gitor, I looked up the schedule today, and a month Sunday we're going to be having preseason games. The 10th of August is the first preseason game, I think. So obviously the last time we were with you around 2 weeks ago, we were saying we were in the middle of the abyss. We're closing in on the beginning of training camp, and obviously we can't wait. So we've been teasing this one for a while, haven't we, Gitor? We've been saying that we were going to do a few things over the break. And the thing that we're going to start off this evening is we're going to do some predictions. So we're going to start off with the AFC side. We're going to go with the North and the South. Obviously, 8 divisions. We're going to cover 2 in every episode. Before we jump into that, Gitor, we were saying during the the 4 or 5 week break we've had over the summer with the NFL. Obviously, we had that massive blockbuster trade a couple of weeks ago with the Dolphins and the Steelers, with Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith going over to the Steelers, Minka Fitzpatrick coming back to the Dolphins. Then things went quiet once again, and then all of a sudden, most notably, the things that happened, I think the deals were noted yesterday. The Jets all of a sudden have decided to pay not only 1 but 2 of their stars. So first of all, Gitor, who do you want to start off? Do you want to start off with Garrett Wilson?
Yep, I've got my own on Garrett Wilson here on my screen. It looks like the Jets have saved a lot of cash getting rid of Aaron Rodgers and wide receiver Devontae Adams. So they've spent $130 million for a 4-year deal, $90 million guaranteed on wide receiver Garrett Wilson. So that's that was the first news that we've had a couple of days ago, I believe. And they followed that up with Sauce Gardner, another 4-year deal, $120 million, which makes him the highest paid CB in NFL history. So 2 big blockbuster contracts there for the New York Jets. Like I said, they somehow saved a lot of money there from the Rodgers deal and the Devontae Adams deal, getting rid of them too. So yeah, they've splashed the cash on this one. So, and a 4-year deal, it's it's a team for life for them, I believe, isn't it?
I think they had 4 of their rookie class. I think this is rookie class 2021 and 2022. So 4 players were eligible for extensions. You've just named the 2 now that have had extensions, Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. The other 2 who are still waiting to get extended are Breece Hall, their running back, and their defensive end Jermaine Johnson as well, who was another first-round pick, I believe, in 2021. No, I mean, we were just talking before. I'm not surprised that they've decided to extend a cornerback and a wide receiver over maybe a defensive end, and especially over a running back, because of the need, I guess, for the team. Obviously, NFL GMs and owners think far more of wide receivers and quarterbacks than running backs, unless you're the Eagles with Saquon Barkley, obviously. However, I wasn't surprised about Garrett Wilson. I was a little bit surprised about the amount that he received. Some people put him maybe inside, maybe a top 10 receiver. I definitely don't put him as a top 5. And this might sound that, this is coming from me, a very bitter Miami Dolphins fan. However, the one that I was extremely surprised was the amount that Sauce Gardner got. Now, don't get me wrong. He is a charismatic figure. Yeah. He had a fantastic rookie season, however. But over the last 2 seasons, this is my personal view, I think he's a little bit overrated. He had a terrible season last year. He was often beaten with a deep ball, and he is known for being, I don't know, handsy, as they say in the NFL. So he uses a lot. He crosses that line a lot where he pulls the defender or pulls the wide receivers back, and then obviously that usually applies in a penalty. Sometimes he gets away with it, but I've heard a lot of people say that he is very, very handsy as a cornerback. So I was a little bit surprised that he got the amount of dollar, and that I think Derek Stingley Jr. was the highest paid for the Houston Texans before Sauce Gardner. So what do you think of those two players? Do you think they deserved what they got, Qatar?
I can understand where you come from with Sauce Gardner. He did have a terrible season last season, but I think you can argue a lot of the players in New York Jets had a terrible season last season as well.
Yeah, especially on the defensive side. Yeah, you're right.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I think this is a turning in the corner for the Jets. Obviously, they've got a new quarterback, Justin Fields, who I'm a big fan of Justin Fields personally. I think he's got quite a bit to learn, but I think he's in the right space as of this moment. Obviously, he was the second quarterback to the Pittsburgh last season, so I think he's in a good place. I think the name of the Jets manager's gone past me. I think he wants to build a team around Justin Fields and everything. So I think with the Gary Wilson deal, obviously that's a great weapon for any quarterback to have. Is he top 5 in the league? I'm personally not too sure at this moment. It's questionable. It's the same deal that the Bengals gave to their 2-star wide receivers. It's the same amount, isn't it? So, I think it's a trend that they're splashing the cash on their wide receivers at the moment. So, but they're quite young. They're in their prime, so they can only improve, in my opinion, in the next 4 years. So, I think it's a 4-year plan for them. We'll see how it goes with Justin Fields as well. So, but I do think it's a new mindset of a team for the Jets coming up this season.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point in terms of they've got a new coach in Aaron Glenn coming over from Detroit.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one.
So there's going to be I'm guessing there's going to be a new defensive scheme over there. We have to remember as well that their former coach Robert Saleh was fired halfway through the season.
Of course. Yes.
So the defensive coordinator was Jeff Ulbrich, who was basically called up mid-season to take over as head coaching duties. However, I have to say, under Robert Saleh, especially during Sauce's rookie season, I think the Jets had a top 5 defense. So like you said, in the right scheme, I think himself and DJ Reed, who was the other cornerback on the other side, and obviously they had a lot of other pieces like Jermaine Johnson, they had Hassan Reddick and CJ Mosley, and a lot of really, really good players. So I don't know if it's kind of going to take time for the new defensive scheme to kind of take effect. It's going to be interesting to see if they're going to suffer the first half of the season, and maybe second half they'll be a little bit stronger. I think I trust Aaron Glenn as a defensive coordinator to kind of to get the ball rolling a little bit quicker than Robert Saleh did. The big question mark for me, just to finish on the Jets, Skitter, is the offensive side of the ball. Because I've heard rumours now that obviously the other 2 players that we mentioned that are still waiting for contracts and are due extensions are Jermaine Johnson and Breece Hall. I've heard a lot of people saying that Breece Hall might be traded, because clearly the Jets have shown that, yes, although, like you said, they have splashed the cash, they're not necessarily going to pay Breece Hall going into a contract year. So either he's going to be traded this year, or he's going to be he'll be leaving as a free agent at the beginning of at the end or at the beginning of the next season. And obviously Justin Fields is going to run a lot. Braylon Allen, who is the second running back for the Jets, I think he's going to be taking a lot of the snaps as well. So you never know. He might kind of you never know if there's a contender out there, or if there's an injury early in training camp or at the beginning of the season. You never know. Breece Hall might be available. But in terms of the offense, I think everything is going to be going through Garrett Wilson, right? I think in terms of the other wide receivers, I don't think they have much talent behind him, to be honest with you.
No.
Obviously, they've got a few tight ends. They've got Jack Conklin and a new tight end that they drafted in the second round in Mason Taylor.
That's it. I was just looking at Mason Taylor now as well.
Yeah.
So it will be an interesting year for the Jets, and they've got a big opening game as well against the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I think that will be the game of the week. I think for us UK fans, that will be the one that'll be shown on TV. Obviously,
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers being the quarterback for the Steelers, going in back to New York to face his former team. I think we couldn't ask for a better week one game, I don't think, between those two teams. So it will be interesting. I can see, it will be interesting how things go for them. I see it as a 4-year plan, and obviously with the new defensive scheme as well, I think they can, give the new head coach that bit of extra trust compared to the other coaches in the last few seasons. So I'm looking forward to see how they do, and I'm looking forward to it. We'll wait and see.
To finish off the extensions, then Guitar. Obviously, the Jets ones came first, and then late yesterday, there was a the Kansas City Chiefs had a big decision looming. Obviously, they decided to tag Trey Smith at the beginning of free agency, I believe. And if he would have played on his tag, I believe he would have been paid something ridiculous, like over 20 million as a guard. However, this is another massive extension, by the way, $94 million extension, which makes him the highest paid guard in NFL history. I think you see, obviously there's a big trend going on here, isn't there? It seems like whoever is up next has to be the top of the crop. Whether, in my opinion, like what's happened with Sauce Gardner, whether the best at their position or not, they are going to demand to have top dollar. So Trey Smith, is he the best guard in the NFL? He's definitely a top 5. So I see why he's been paid the money. But obviously, it's interesting to see the Chiefs, who have let go a few of their guards at the beginning of free agency. But obviously, this is a massive extension, and obviously they're bolstering their O-line ready for another, I guess, Super Bowl run.
You can't have a Super Bowl run without a Kansas City, can you? So they're going to have to spend the big bucks keeping their best players, and I think everyone wants to play for the Chiefs, to be honest with you. So, 94 million, 70 mil guaranteed, another 4-year deal. Like I said, there is a trend going on with the big players getting paid big money. So, and like I said, they did have to trade and get rid of some at the start of the free agency. So, but I think this is a big win for the Chiefs keeping Trey Smith for 4 years. I think that's a big win for them.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, those are all the extensions that we have so far. There are a couple of holdouts, by the way. The biggest one to watch for me, Guitar, is what's happening with TJ Watt over in Pittsburgh. Obviously, they've made a lot of moves lately. TJ Watt is looking for a new deal. Apparently, I'm not sure if he's going to be at the beginning of training camp or not. There's a few players who often do this. But that's definitely one to watch, because obviously Steelers for me have probably one of the best defensive lines in the NFL with Alex Heisman, TJ Watt. Obviously, you're guaranteed 15 sacks a season with TJ Watt. So if he's going to hold in training camp, that could be problematic maybe for the Steelers. So that's definitely something to watch. Okay, Guitar, shall we finally get into this series that we've been teasing, like I said, over the last couple of weeks, which is we're going to rank every single team in all of their divisions. So we decided this week we're going to cover the AFC North and the AFC South. So Guitar, do you want to start off? Shall we start off with the South? Because I feel like the NFC North is obviously, potentially for me, is probably one of the best divisions in football. So let's save the best till last, and let's begin with the NFC South. Not the NFC South, the AFC South, I do believe.
Yes, go.
So do you
Yeah.
want to give your rankings first?
Yeah. I agree with you. I think AFC, pardon me, you got me mixed up. AFC North is one of the strongest divisions in terms of the teams in there. I think the AFC South is one of the weakest in the NFL. To be honest, I'm going to start with who I think is going to finish first place. I'm going to go with the Houston Texans. But they're going to have a very difficult season, I think, the Texans. It's not going to be a wipeout. I think they'll just about... I think one team has to go through in each division anyway. I think the Texans... I've got them... I'm not sure if you've set any records or anything. I don't see the Texans winning more than 9 or 10 games, to be honest with you, this season. But I think they've got them winning first. And then the next 3 teams I've got on there... talk about the Jaguars quickly. Like we mentioned before, I think this is a make-or-break season for them. I think this is Taylor Lawrence's last good, proper chance at defining himself to be one of the great QBs in the league. Last season was a terrible season. Obviously, we'll be keeping a close eye on the Jaguars. Obviously, we'll be looking at the Louis Guizame situation if he's...
Yes.
So this is one of the teams we'll be keeping an eye out for. I'll be going to London to watch them against the Rams. I personally don't think, after going through the fixtures, I think the Rams will win that game. Obviously, it's a bit early to tell. So I've got the Jaguars finishing second, but with a losing season. And the next 2 teams, I think the Titans will struggle again, and I think the Colts are going to struggle this season as well. I don't see them getting more than 5 wins, to be honest.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I've done exactly the same as you. I think Houston are going to win the division. I thought Houston on top and the Titans at the bottom, even though they've got Cam Ward, the number 1 pick out of the 2025 draft. Unfortunately, he has no receivers to throw to, and he doesn't have a good offensive line in front of him as well. So that's going to be either very, very difficult to watch, or it's actually going to be very, very fun. Because if you saw Cam Ward in college in Miami, he is an expert on creating something out of nothing, basically on a broken play. That's what he does. And then in the middle, honestly, I juggled these 2 back and forth in terms of Jacksonville and the Colts. I think the Colts are going to be a little bit better than what you said. Obviously, it's going to be interesting to see what the quarterback dynamic is going to be there. Who's going to start? Is it going to be Richardson? Is it going to be Daniel Jones? Personally, well, no, not personally. A lot of insiders are saying that Daniel Jones has a better chance to start over Anthony Richardson, just because I think he's the safer bet. Anthony Richardson, for me, is the most talented quarterback, but in terms of consistency, they might start off with Daniel Jones, see how it goes, and then they might switch. I've heard some people say that Anthony Richardson might come in on some 3rd down red zone plays because I think he's something ridiculous, like 6'4", 230 pounds. He's an absolute beast of an athlete. He's a brilliant runner as well. Interesting that the Dolphins are travelling to Colts for week 1, by the way. So I'll be keeping an eye out to see who's going to win that QB battle. I swapped it back and forth. I did put Jacksonville second, Colts third in the division. However, I'm not going to sleep on the Jaguars because, like you said, it wouldn't surprise me to see the Jaguars win the division either, if I'm honest with you. Houston are going to be without Tank Dell for the majority of the season. Everything is going to be going through Nico Collins. They've added some wide receivers. Christian Kirk, I believe, has gone from the Jaguars to the Texans. But I think their main weapon is going to be their defense. And, you know, what's that offensive line going to be in front of CJ Stroud as well? So I agree. I think it's going to be between Houston and the Jags for the division. I think the Colts will probably win 6 or 7 games. And the Titans will be lucky if they win more than 4, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've gone with Titans 4 on this one.
Okay.
I was just looking at the fixture list for the Colts. They've got some tough run-ins. They've got the Falcons in Germany. We should
Yeah.
realistically beat them. I understand. Miracles happen. Obviously, it happens a lot in the NFL.
Mm.
I've actually got the Dolphins winning week 1 against them, so hope you enjoy that one. But yeah, the Colts and the Titans for me, I think. And one thing I'm looking forward to the Titans. Obviously, I'm looking forward to watching their new quarterback. Come on, it'll be interesting how he does. Calvin Ridley, he's coming towards an age. Is he still good enough to be QB1, wide receiver? Van Jefferson, a former Falcon as well. I'm just looking at that as well, but nobody else really sticking out. So,
No.
but it'll be interesting to see what Cam Woods does. The Jaguars, like I said, it's a make or break for them. I got them finishing second, but I don't have them having a winning record personally. I'm looking forward to watching their new what was the name of the draft pick for the Jaguars?
For the Jaguars, they dual threat. He's a wide receiver and a cornerback.
How did we
Travis Hunter.
That's the one. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching him. Obviously, hopefully he'll be fit by the time he comes to London.
Yes.
But yeah, I think this is the weakest, if not one of the weakest divisions in the NFL at the moment. So, with the teams competing for the top spot. But yeah, the Texans, like I said, I've got them at 9 and 8 actually. So it won't be a wipeout. I don't see it being a wipeout. It'll be interesting who if they'll make the playoffs, who they'll get. But I don't see them being a major push in the playoffs either. If they do finish first, to be honest. So
yeah. Just last thing for me, the AFC South, these teams are notorious for cancelling each other out, if you know what I mean. A lot of them, they just beat each other on any given Sunday.
Yeah.
I think the Titans have beaten the Jaguars 3 or 4 games in a row. And so, like you said, upsets can happen, and a lot of it happens in this division as well. So yeah, it's going to be, like you said, maybe one of the weakest ones, but like you said, I'm very, very looking forward to that new wide receiver duo in Jacksonville with Travis Hunter and Robinson Jr., obviously, from last year, who potentially could have been, or maybe should have been, Rookie of the Year. Cool. Shall we switch over to the North then? Like you said, probably one of the strongest divisions in the game. So, Guitar, take us through it.
I'm going to start from the bottom on this one, 4-1.
Nice.
I think the Cleveland Browns are going to struggle this year as well, even though they've got the new contracts, they've got 2 new quarterbacks, a couple of signings here and there. I just don't think the structure is there for them as of yet. I don't think the atmosphere is good in Cleveland. I don't think it ever is, to be honest with you. And looking at the fixture and the schedule as well, I struggle to see them winning more than 5 games, to be honest with you. I think they'll be lucky to get 5 wins. So I got them finishing bottom with a 5-12 record, making my way into 3rd place. This is where I get stuck between the Steelers and the Bengals, but I've got them with the same record in the end, so I might have to go through that again to see if they will have the same record. But I've gone for the Bengals in 3rd and Steelers 2nd.
Which means the Ravens are on top,
and the Ravens on top. It's difficult to get my head around the Steelers, how they're actually going to do, obviously with the new quarterbacks and new signings and everything. The new look defense, the TJ Watt situation, but from what I'm seeing at this moment, I think they'll finish 2nd. And obviously the Ravens on top.
I swear that we haven't had a chat beforehand, but I completely agree with you. It's very interesting that we've gone for exactly the same. So I've gone with the Ravens winning the division, Steelers in 2nd, Cincinnati 3rd, Cleveland in 4th. Cleveland in 4th was like you said, the easy one. They got Myles Garrett back
Yeah.
Don't know why he decided to sign back there, but there we are. Maybe he's a loyal individual.
Yeah.
They quarter, yeah, you've got a quarterback situation going there. You've got Shadur, who is potentially third or fourth string QB there. You've got Joe Flacco, who's going to start. Kenny Pickett is there as well. Kenny Pickett apparently might be traded as a backup. And you've got Dylan Gabriel as well, who was picked in the third round of the 2025 NFL draft. So the question for me is, I know Flacco did very, very well at the end of, was it last year? At the end of last season. Is he going to be able to replicate that? I don't think he is. Firstly, because he doesn't have the receiver core that he had back then. They've lost Elijah Moore. Okay, they added Jerry Jeudy, and he fitted in very, very well, I think, with that scheme. But I don't see a 40-year-old quarterback lasting 17 games. So I think Cleveland will potentially have to do a QB change at some point in the season, because ultimately they need to see what they've got. I don't think training camp and preseason is going to be enough for them to see if Shadur or Dylan Gabriel, are they going to have enough reps basically to show the coaches what can they do? And maybe, I mean, one of them is potentially going to have to go on the practice squad anyway. So is that going to be Shadur maybe going on the practice squad? I don't know. So that's going to be interesting.
That's not going to be
like you said, the dilemma for me was between the Bengals and the Steelers. Looking at the schedule, I think the Steelers are going to start off strong. I think that they potentially could start 5-1, 6-1, something like that. Then after their bye, I believe their run-in is extremely difficult. They have to play the Bengals, they have to play the Ravens twice, they have to play the Bills, they have to play the Dolphins and the Browns. So that, for me, that guarantees them only one victory.
Yeah. Green Bay will be a bit of a challenge for them as well. I just need to add that.
Yeah, Green Bay
as well.
Yeah.
I've actually got them 4-1 in the first 5 games. I actually got them 4-1 in the first 5 games. I thought I'd throw in a bit of surprise. I say Jets are winning week 1, but they've got a trip to London as well. That's going to be a huge boost for them. Obviously, I think the Vikings will struggle with 2 international games in a row. Obviously, this won't be the first one out of the 2 because they got London the week after. But I think their trip to Ireland is going to be huge for the Steelers. I think momentum will be on their side the whole time. So, but yeah, the Steelers, it's going to be an interesting one to watch with how it's going to happen with.
What do you make of Cincinnati, Guitar? Have they done enough on defense to convince you?
Just about no. I think it's going to be a weird. I've got them winning a few games in a row here and there, but they've got some tough fixtures as well. They're going to have to go to, obviously, the Ravens, the Bills, Green Bay again, the Jets, and they're going to have some tough games ahead. And I think they've got an easy running towards the end of the season. I think Miami will be a tough game for them in the last 3 games. The Cardinals and the Browns afterwards, but obviously, depending where they are in the last game of the season, if they'll use most of the first team against the Browns, who knows? But yeah, I do like the Bengals. I want the Bengals to make the playoffs. I think the playoffs is better with the Bengals in it, to be honest with you. I'm a massive fan of Joe Burrow. So I hope they do make the playoffs. But at this moment in time, for me, it is a toss-up between Steelers and Bengals, and I've edged slightly towards the Steelers for this one.
That's exactly what I've done. I think if Joe Burrow stays healthy, now that they've locked in their basically 2 number 1 receivers in Higgins and Chase, I think he's going to go absolutely ballistic in terms of stats. I wouldn't be surprised if he'd go over something like 5,000 yards. I think he got 4,800 yards last season. So I think he's easily going to go over 5,000 this year. He's, like I said, I think it might be a similar pattern to what happened with Cincinnati, is the fact that they can't rely on their defense, and they're going to have to score more than the opponent, meaning they're going to have to score maybe more than 30 points every single game in order to win a game, because I personally, I don't trust their defense enough. And for me, Guitar, the Ravens are on top. For me, I think the Ravens are gonna win the AFC this year.
Okay, that's an interesting one. I've actually got them at 11-6. I don't think for me, I don't think that's
Okay.
enough for them to win the whole AFC. I'm looking at their first 5 games, and I've got them losing 3 in the first 5 games.
Okay.
Against, I don't see them beating the Bills at home, as in the Bills playing at home. Sorry, I
Mm.
see the Lions in week 3 going into Baltimore. I see the Lions winning this one, and they've got the Chiefs away as well, and I see the Chiefs winning that one. They'll defeat the Browns, they'll defeat the Texans, but for me they're 2-3 at the first 5 games. But they're going to make a hell of a push towards the end of the season. They're going to win 5 out of 7 games in the last game season, in the last few games season. So I think they're topping the division. I don't see them
Yeah.
winning the AFC, to be quite honest. But in the middle of, between week 8 and week 12, I see them winning every game. Lamar's going to work his magic. They're going to lose 2 games between week 8 and week 18, I think.
Yeah.
But the first 5 games, they have a hell of a run in. So I don't see them winning all the 5 games. But Lamar Jackson, he's very talented. When he turns up, he's a brilliant player. Mark Andrews, as well. I still think towards the game last season in the playoffs, I believe it was against the Bills.
Yeah.
How he did not catch the ball. Obviously, it was a snowy day, but any player could have catched that ball.
Going back, interestingly, you came up with that play actually, because if you look back at Baltimore's season, their downfall ultimately came down to 2 plays. The first one was exactly that one, that 2-point conversion that they went
Yeah.
for, at the end of the wild card game at the Bills, which they ultimately lost. And
Yeah.
the other guitar was obviously the first game of the season, where Isaiah Likely literally, pretty much apart from an inch of his toe being over the line
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
scoring a touchdown to bring the scores level in overtime as well. So ultimately they lost the first game at Arrowhead. So
Right.
it's
Yeah.
literally, like I said, it's a game of millimeters, isn't it? Ultimately.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah. Those 2 plays, they make a big deal
Yeah.
to the season in the end. So one at the very start of the season, one at the very end of the season.
Yeah.
It summed up their season much, but they had a good run in towards the whole season. I believe they lost to the Browns during last season, didn't they? In the middle of the week, I believe. I think that was
Oh, did they? Oh,
one
I
of an
can't.
upset.
I can't remember.
It was
Got
an
a better,
upset. But
yeah, better
but yeah,
memory than me. I'm not sure.
Lamar Jackson is a top 3, top 4 quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
So
I
yes,
I remember them losing. I remember them losing to the Raiders at the beginning of the season,
mm,
when they were up big, and they just threw that game away. Unfortunately, Baltimore have a tendency. They've got one game every season where they just completely go off the rails. The
yeah,
year before, it was a ridiculous game, probably one of the best games that I've watched personally as a Dolphins fan, is when the Dolphins went into Baltimore and they ultimately won 38-35. The Ravens were up by 3 touchdowns going into the end of the third quarter, and then they just completely shut shop. They
mm,
completely shut down, and the Dolphins came back with 3 touchdowns in a row to win the game. So yeah, I it's going to be interesting, because obviously they've signed Jair Alexander.
yeah,
They've got some ridiculous pieces on defense. Baltimore have Kyle Hamilton, probably,
yeah,
if not the best safety in the league. Um, Derrick Henry. They've got a really, really solid O-line. I really like Zay Flowers as a wide receiver, and obviously they've got probably one of my favourite tight end tandems in Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely as well, who are fantastic ball catchers as well. So, yeah, something tells me that the Ravens have they've come so close so far, and I know that their tendency is that they tend to fall apart during playoff time. Something tells me that this season is going to be a little bit different. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just a hunch. But at the moment, a lot of things can change. Like you said,
Yeah.
if they do ultimately lose those 3 games at the beginning of the season and wind up 1-4 or 2-3, that could ultimately change the landscape of the NFL in the AFC at least. So yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting. Another thing, Gito, just before we end, you mentioned that you were a massive fan of Joe Burrow. I have recently been watching the second season of Quarterback on Netflix. I actually didn't
Yeah.
end up watching the first one. So I believe that you've got some time off work tomorrow and you're going to binge a few episodes tomorrow.
That's the plan tomorrow. That's the plan. Yeah, I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
seeing the story behind, especially Kirk Cousins, me being a Falcons fan. I want to know what
Yes.
his mindset was when we drafted Michael Penix Jr. I'm hoping to show in the game that I intended against the Seahawks, when everything started to go a little bit downhill for the Falcons after being 6-3, when we should have walked at least, to be honest with you. And I'm obviously Joe Burrow being one of my favourite quarterbacks in the league. I'm looking forward to seeing his story as well, and I like the story of
Yeah.
Jared Goff as well. So yeah,
Exactly.
plan
Yeah.
for me is to binge watch the quarterback series on Netflix.
Did you know what I think I've just finished the third or the fourth episode, and it is I find it absolutely fascinating. It's the things that I got out of it is how much dependency the Bengals have on Joe Burrow, on one player, him and Jamar Chase. How much they depend on two of those players is absolutely ridiculous. They hold that franchise, and
Yeah,
we've all seen in the past couple of seasons what's happened to the Bengals when Joe Burrow goes down. Unfortunately, he is a little bit injury prone since
it's,
coming into the season, and they completely fall apart when he goes down because they don't really have a decent backup quarterback. And then obviously Jared Goff. Obviously, he talks about the trade, the infamous trade that went down with the Rams swapping quarterbacks with Matthew Stafford. And I think it was the first game of the season the Rams came to Detroit. That was it was just it was just box office. And obviously, I'm not going to say much about the happenings and the goings of Kirk Cousins and what happened with the draft with Penix and things, but it is that story especially. I know that you're a Falcons fan, but even for me, that was it. It's fascinating to see how he deals with the Achilles injury, the dealing with a new scheme in Atlanta as well, and the connections. I didn't know the connections that Kirk Cousins had to Atlanta. His first son was born there. They got
yeah,
married just outside of Atlanta as well, so they have big ties to that city. So that was really, really cool, I thought.
yeah, yeah. It's just a shame it hasn't really properly worked out for him. I'm a little bit gutted for him that, after that first season, and from what we've saw on the backstage before the series came out, I'll be watching it tomorrow. But from reading the stories and with the connection he's had with the city, I am finding it, a little bit gutted that it hasn't worked out for him. I wish it did. I wish he did play. He didn't get it. Obviously, injuries happen, but being a Falcons fan, and Kirk Cousins, he seems like a nice guy as well. So I'm just a little bit
Yeah,
gutted for him that he hasn't worked out. But I'm looking forward to seeing his perspective of it as well. So, because a lot of Falcons fans out there, they can be a little bit somewhat selfish
yeah,
sometimes with the players, expecting a lot more. But that's the thing with these shows, you get to see what's happening behind the scenes, which I'm really looking forward to watching tomorrow, and for the rest of the week or whatever. So,
yeah. And just lastly, get up for me as well. Just the last thing on Kirk Cousins is I hadn't noticed how well he played during that start for
yeah,
Atlanta last season.
yeah,
Obviously, he struggled early on, but when they got going, like you said, they were 6-3 at one point and looking like
yeah.
you were going to win the division because you swept the Buccaneers. And so my question is basically, say that he does remain as a backup, and maybe does he get traded mid-season towards the end of the transfer window? Do you still see Kirk Cousins as a starter in the NFL?
Not for the Falcons. No, I see.
Okay.
This is. I think this is Michael Penix's year. Definitely.
Yeah.
I think they're going to work around. I think we're going to definitely work around him. We've got the players working around him, working around his scheme and everything. You've had Matt Ryan apparently turning up to training to help Michael Penix Jr. So I think this year, it's difficult to see if he become a starter. Not for the Falcons, even if he gets traded season or the next season. I think he'll still want to play for the next 3 or 4 seasons. I'm unsure if he'll finish his career with the Falcons. I'm unsure at the moment.
Yeah. Sorry, I meant to say, do you think that he can start somewhere else on another? Is he a starter caliber quarterback for another team apart from the Falcons? Obviously, sorry, I meant to say that. No, Penix. Obviously, they've made the transition, haven't they, in Atlanta to Penix, and I think it's ultimately it's the correct decision for the longevity of the franchise. But for me, from going back and watching how Kirk played at the beginning before his injury, I genuinely think that he can still start for another team.
Yeah.
It's put it this way: if someone like Sam Darnold has won over, and someone else like Geno Smith, if those 2 players can start in the NFL, I think Kirk Cousins is better than both those quarterbacks. That's what I feel anyway.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of a team that maybe down the line would need a new veteran quarterback, maybe to start for the season. And Raiders came to my head, but obviously they've got Geno Smith now. The Seahawks, they've always got Sam Darnold now. So the Giants has come to my head for some reason, but they've got a new quarterback, I believe, haven't they? So
Russ, isn't it? Russ is starting there now, isn't he?
Exactly. There we go. Yeah. So they've got JJ McCarthy in Minnesota already. Will he come back to Minnesota? So it's one of them. I hope the next few years is good for him. For me, I think being a QB1 for the Falcons, I think that's over with. This is going to be Michael Penix's year. But I hope the next. I think he'll still want to play for the next 3-4 years, and I hope he does. He'll have a good 3-4 years, and the injuries it's good because he's one of the good ones. So, well,
yeah, they were devastating injuries, weren't they? Especially the Achilles, and he did so well to come back in time for the beginning of the season for the Atlanta. So it's good, like you said, it's going to be fascinating to see during training camp, very shortly, to see how many reps does he get in training camp. Are we going to see him in postseason? Are we going to see him in an exhibition game? So yeah, I genuinely can't wait for the beginning of training camp. Obviously, the rest of you NFL fans, obviously, and another thing that we forgot to mention just before we end, by the way, thank you so much for watching, for liking, for commenting. Well, 2 things before we end. Firstly, obviously, it's a massive couple of weeks for our very own Lewis Rees-Zammit down in Jacksonville to see how he does over the next couple of weeks. He is going to be over the next month. This is his time to shine. Yeah. He is going to have to show the new coaches with Liam Cohen over there, that he is worth keeping around. They have signed him. Obviously, he does have a contract for this year. However, that can be terminated at any point. He can be released at any point. He can be stashed on the practice squad like he did last year. Hopefully, obviously, our aim, our dreams for him, and his personal dream, is to be on an NFL regular season roster. So we'll keep an eye how he does during training camp. The other thing, Gitar, was I noticed that you put on the Instagram account, NFL Cymru Pod, who has the best throwback jersey. So I believe you put out the Falcons, the Chargers, and the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
For me, hands down, with all due respect, I think that the new Buccaneers or the retro Buccaneers ones are absolutely fantastic. Shout out to Christy, by the way, and I'm sure that she'll agree with me.
Yeah, she made a comment on Twitter just before we got on the pod. Obviously, it's the Bucks that she said. So yeah, shout out to Christy. Hope you're keeping well. Yeah,
she's going to Florida. I keep seeing on her Insta account that she's got the countdown of when she's going to Florida. I think it's for 50 days now. 50 days. So I think she's going to opening weekend actually down in Tampa.
I believe so. Yeah.
So she's going to be in at the Tampa Falcons game, which is
I
cool.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll keep an eye on that one. I do like the Falcons throwback. I think it's really clean. Going into the Bucks quickly, I do like the Bucks as well. I like it's. I'm not a big fan of orange, but I think this whole color scheme and the logos and everything, I think it's really beautiful. The Falcons, I think the Falcons is very clean. It's simple. I love the old logo.
Yeah.
But I love the Chargers this season. I think the Chargers, New Jersey, the throwback. It's for me, it's shiny, and I like it.
Okay.
I love it. So
yeah, the one thing I do like about the Falcons, I do like the red helmet. That's really cool.
Me too.
Like
me
that.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah. But Bucks hands down for me. But anyway, that's going to be it for this episode of the NFL Cymru podcast. So we've covered, like you said, the AFC North and the South today. It only makes sense, Gito, that we swap over to the NFC for the next episode. Maybe we'll do the NFC North and the NFC South, or the West and the East. We'll see what kind of comes to mind, and we'll carry on ranking these divisions. And come mid-season, come end of season, Gito, we could be completely wrong. You know, who knows? In another world, Cleveland and the Titans might win the division. I don't see that happening, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But for now, like I said, thank you so much for watching. Watch us on YouTube. Follow our Instagram page, NFL Cymru Pod, on Twitter as well. We're a week away, guys, from training camp. Rookies are in the building already. We're going to smash out these divisions. And we'll keep you posted about any of the blockbuster deals like we had with the Jets and the Chiefs that happened a couple of days ago from now towards the beginning of training camp. But from now, from myself and Gito, diolch fawr iawn i chi gyd. See you on the next one.